Now, in terms of running cars and bids to shift into this, what was the most surprising thing about running a business and taking that from YouTube to like an actual company?
Running a business is hard. It turns out it's quite hard. There's like customers and employees, and it's not easy to do. It's hard.
You seem so much more relaxed today than when we first met.
I agree.
Like back then, you were very just like,
Well,
I don't know. It seems like you had a lot going on.
I was obsessive about everything. And it's been nice to have an investor partner who worries about some of that stuff, not for me, but like in addition. But also like running a business is challenging. It is nice to be in a financial position where you don't have to worry. And I never really was before. You know, I was doing well on YouTube, but that tap could be turned off at any time. And that helps. That really, really, really helps. It definitely lowers the stakes from I absolutely have to do this or else I don't know what'll happen to like, let's make this succeed, but it's like a fun project. I actually am a better employee and person now, even though you'd think it would be the opposite. Some people work better under like heavy pressure, financial or otherwise. And I think it's actually, you seem
so much happier.
Yeah.
Like really.
100%.
No, I mean, there was especially that time when we met, like it was tough. Like running the business was hard. Especially like by myself with my co-founder, like it was hard. There was a lot of work. And at that stage of a business too, you don't know what's going to happen. Is it going to, and that's hard too. So you're putting in these long hours for something that might not work. And, you know, managing employees and managing a space and managing the business and the customers, which is the hardest part for sure. It's a lot. It's just a lot. I'm never doing it again. People are like, but you say that, but really in a couple of years, no, I'm never doing it again. Ever.
What was the hardest part for you to get over? Was it the hours or
getting it going was the hardest part at the very beginning. The first 4 or 5 months, you know, that's sink or swim, especially when you're as public as we are, right? Like a lot of startups, you can roll out to a select group. You can roll out to, you know, a small audience in one state to just doctor, you know, whatever your startup is. I don't know. But like we launched. I mean, we announced the launch the day we launched, you know, and then everyone knew because I was on YouTube and it was a big deal and et cetera, et cetera. And so like those, if it wasn't going to work, it was going to fail. Like in those days, like I didn't have a second chance. There wasn't going to be a larger audience later. And we had built a great product, but like it needed a lot of effort right then and there. Like there were more customers than we ever expected right away. And then there were less customers than we expected soon after. And it was like, okay, we have different problems now. We got to figure this out. And there was just constant triage and whack-a-mole and putting out fires. And I'm never doing it again. I straight up am never doing it again. Yeah. I remember those days and I'm too old for it. And I probably have too much money for it. I don't have the ability to, like go through it again.
Yeah.
And also, by the way, the YouTube channel was like that too.
Yeah.
And so like, really, I consider it that there were two successful businesses. The YouTube channel also had a very difficult start, a lot of effort, an enormous amount of work, long nights, long hours, long weekends, a lot of travel. Then we started the cars and bids business, which was all of those things once again. So like it happened twice. And I think that's all you get. Some people get more. That's all I get.
How has your job changed since the investment in cars and bids?
It changed in my mind for the dramatic better, which is that I don't have to really deal with a lot of the day-to-day operations anymore. And I can instead focus heavily on the thing that not only do I do best, but I enjoy the most and I am most valuable to the business in, which is making the videos. You know, I was personally setting reserves. Like people would send in their car and I would like be the one to type like, you know, we'll offer you 20. Oh, I want 25. Like I personally did that just by myself for the first 6 months. And we hired one other dude and then me and him did it. And for the next year. So like, it's nice not to have to do that anymore. And I've replaced that time. I certainly don't work less, but I've replaced that time with filming videos, which again is most beneficial for the business to have me out there. But also I just enjoy it. I to this day, people are like, don't you get tired of it? And I'm like, nah, the quirks and features, I still, to this day, I'm like, I can't wait to see what this Bentley's going to have, you know?
That's so interesting. Do you find that you're less motivated because you have less skin in the game?
No, surprisingly, no. I'm not necessarily less motivated, but it is nice not to be in a position where like it has to be a certain outcome. It's nice.
Interesting. Now, for sellers who sell their cars on auction websites, I'm curious, does having a no reserve help get a higher price, or like what sort of strategies?
If the car's good, yeah. We generally find that no reserve cars bring more money. More bids, more comments, more views, more money. Almost always. But you can also get screwed. I always tell people, if you have like a good car that you're confident is good, you take good photos. I tell people you are your own reserve. Like if you take good photos, you're a good seller who answers questions, who has a video, who has service records, like you don't need a reserve. You just don't. Like that stuff is your reserve. And then going no reserves shows a level of confidence in the car that you know it's going to do well. And buyers know they're not wasting their time. So that's a winner. If the car is sketchy, I don't know. If you're, or if it's just a weird car that you don't know, there's not much comps, you don't know where the market is, you have this idea in mind, yeah, it makes more sense for reserve. But when I sell all my cars, I sell them all with no reserve, and not even cars that I get like views on when I talk about it. Usually when I get to the point where I'm selling a car, I just want it gone. But also I just really feel pretty confident in the photos that I have a professional photographer take and the standard to which I've maintained the car. And that is shown in those results.
And then what about when an auction ends? Is there any correlation between it ending on like a Sunday morning versus like a Monday afternoon?
Yeah, I firmly believe that weekend auctions are a bad idea. We don't run them. I'm going to eat my words someday when we expand to run weekend auctions. We're going to have to edit all this out. We don't run weekend auctions. Other than that, we have not found a correlation. Some sellers are convinced. I only want my cars on Monday. Yeah. And it's funny because you'll hear guys be like, I won't sell on a Friday. And so we will accommodate that, and we'll schedule them not on Fridays. But like you have another seller who's equally as smart in his mind. He's like, I only want Fridays. It's like, all right, well, we'll accommodate that too. But just so you know, you guys should talk. We have not found it. You would think there would be some correlation, but we have not. Now, I do think that generally speaking, in winter, you probably get a little less money for your enthusiast, especially sports car, than in spring, summer, fall.
What about correlation between two competing cars? Like I noticed for the Cybertruck for a while, there's only one at a time that would end, and then a few days later, a new Cybertruck
would come up. We try not
to
run two competing cars at the same time.
Okay.
With Rivians, it got to a point where we couldn't do that. There were just so many. We would try to run them geographically distinct. So if one is in Boston and one is in San Francisco, we could run those. They're probably not competing. But I do think that does have an impact. If you run two cars at the same time, certainly a person could be like, well, I didn't win that one, but I'll win this one. And so I'm not going to bid as high.
Interesting. And what about for buyers who buy a car sight unseen? How do they ensure that the car is going to be in good working order? Is it purely just, buying the seller?
Buying the seller. This is one of the reasons we require so much stuff. And sellers get really frustrated with us because it's like, I got to put in 150 pictures and 3 videos, and I got to submit all the documentation and the title and all that. But it makes the process better for everybody, not just buyers, but sellers too. Like when you don't do that, and I got a buddy who just bought a Bentley on a competing platform that just was grossly misrepresented. And when you don't do that, the result is that you end up with an upset buyer who's then going after the seller. The seller is in that situation trying to resolve that. The auction business has to step in. It's a tough thing. You want to try to you want to try to ask for as much stuff as possible to allow buyers to do as much diligence. Yeah. That doesn't mean they will. And in a lot of cases, we've had buyers be like, oh, this dent's on here. And it's like, the dent is in every picture. But they complain. And it's like, well, okay. Then that's that's a more difficult problem to solve.
Yeah. How many cars do you deny selling?
A lot. But you'd be surprised. People submit Nissan Rogues and stuff. We probably deny more than half the cars that get submitted.
Really?
But a lot of it's just open trash, like traffic car, like Honda Civics that have automatic 12-year-old Honda Civic with 200,000 miles. I don't know how they found us. What are you doing here? But a lot of stuff just gets denied straight away. So the numbers make it seem like we're very selective, but with enthusiast cars, we try not to be too selective. I like to be the platform that sells the crappy one that it's so rough that if you want to just turn into a track car, you can. And also the nice one that is going to be a special show car.
To me, I will say I like how curated it is, that it seems like every day I could go on, see a few new cars, read new comments, and they're all interesting. And it's not just, blown up with Toyota Camrys.
Right.
So I like that.
It tries to be a platform for when I scroll, on the especially on the desktop, that's like 3 across or 4 across. I try to make sure, like, in every one of those 3 across, like, which one of those 3 would I get? Like, there's always something interesting in every row and every column.
How much work goes into like organizing the cars, of like having certain makes and models next to each other? Like, is there any?
Very little of that, but scheduling is complicated.
Okay.
Sellers have their own preferences. Like I said, some sellers have essentials, like I'm going out of town XYZ day, it has to end before that, or I'm not going out of town until XYZ day, like it can't start until after I get back. Some and then there's, you don't want 2 cars to run at the same time, and so you have to be cognizant of that. And so there's 2 identical cars, and so there's actually a lot that goes into the scheduling, but we don't think about it like, let's put a BMW next to a Mercedes, or let's not put 2 BMWs together. That generally doesn't have that. We do try to balance no reserve and reserve cars. We try to have like no reserve, no reserve to try to break things up a little.
So if there's so much demand that you turn down half of the vehicles, why not expand the business from cars and bids to something else where it's like, commuter cars or normal everyday cars that just sell at an auction?
We talk about this stuff. I mean, that's an interesting question. You like that it's curated. I mean, I think a lot of people do. I think a lot of enthusiasts like that. However, there's a bigger market out there. Do you do that? Maybe, but do you then alienate the people who came in the first place? Maybe, probably.
But that's why it's a separate website.
I'm not starting any more businesses, Graham. Maybe you could. Is a regular consumer willing to buy a car that way? An enthusiast will bid in an auction for a car they know they're not going to find another one of. Is a regular person? Maybe. I don't know. These are things we discuss for sure. I mean, there's possibilities there.
I've always wondered, since the UI seems so great and the dashboard's great, if you could just license and sell all of that coding and backend as a template to other people that are trying to sell other things like watches, or have some sort of bidding wars on anything.
I wonder about that too. It's really well done.
It shouldn't be super hard to extract all of that. Just pay some dude some exorbitant amount of money to extract all the coding and everything.
Yeah, I wanted to do a cars and bids of watches.
We registered watchesandbids.com. Don't go after us. Or don't try.
So I briefly looked into this. There's a website called watchcollecting.com. It's located in the UK, and they do that. But the issue with that is they have so few watches. Guaranteeing authenticity of certain watches can be difficult. Their fee is so high, and every watch has such a high reserve. They don't hit like half of the watches on there. Just never hit anything.
It's very difficult. I've learned. I didn't know this before. Thank God, because I wouldn't have done it. But it's very difficult to create a 2-sided marketplace, to have enough inventory for buyers to be happy and to have enough buyers for sellers to be happy. It is tremendously difficult to put those things together. When you see the marketplaces that have the reserves that are too high, it means they're desperate for sellers, and so they'll let sellers list at any price they can just to have the inventory come in. And you would be shocked how many other car auction websites have come up and died since we launched. And I have this theory that people see me in the t-shirt and shorts and they're like, this guy's an idiot. If he can do it, we can do it. It ain't easy. It is not easy. And everybody finds that out. Like, it is very, very hard to get enough inventory going. It's very hard enough to get enough buyers to make sure the inventory gets to the price level where it should. It is not easy. Bring a Trailer, Cars and Bids. It's pretty impressive that this has happened, even, because it's hard.
Yeah, I certainly think your audience is perfect for it, and your viewership was
was key. Bring a Trailer did it because they took a long time to develop.
Oh gosh, years.
I did it because I had a built-in audience. Other people who try don't realize how important one of those 2 things is, and that you really can't do it without one of those 2 things. And in some cases, even if you have an audience already, it's still tremendously difficult. I've had other YouTubers try to create car auction websites that have not succeeded, and it's hard.
Is there anything you would go back and change, knowing what you know now?
No, probably not. But it was a lot of work, and maybe we should have just done a podcast.
What lessons have you learned from like building up a business like this? That
do it when you're young.
Okay,
that's the biggest. Do it when you're young. That is the number one lesson that I would tell people. I had time and I didn't have as much to lose. And that's big. Like, when you have kids and a mortgage and 3 supercars, it's different. You do it when you're young. And I was rewarded greatly, and I get a lot of time with my kids now.
Yeah. How has it changed having kids while also running a business and maybe kind of shifting back towards the family life?
you just gotta do it. But I feel bad for the guys who have to grind throughout their kids' lives. Like, I obviously no longer have to grind at the crazy level where I was. It's hard to convince people who are 23 to 33 years old to like buckle down and just like focus on creating a business, starting a business, and like rocking it. It's so hard because those are the ages where you want to party and hang out and have fun. And I didn't do any of that stuff, and I just did a business or two. But I'm so glad that I did, because when you're in the family life situation, it is so nice to be able to hang out with my kids. And I'm so shocked at how much I enjoy family life, and I'm shocked by how much I enjoy being a dad. And I'm cool with the way that it worked out. I'm cool with giving up those 10 years.
Have you always been like that, or did you start enjoying it when you actually have a family?
Like, oh no, I definitely thought I was not. The first year even, I was like, I don't know. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But once my first son, once he got older and started talking, and like we're like best buds now, and I love it. It's shockingly enjoyable.
So the one thing we hear from a lot of people, they say one of their regrets is not having kids sooner. Do you find that to be the case now that you have kids?
It was the right time for me.
Okay.
I wanted to travel a ton. My wife and I traveled a ton. We met really young, so we've been everywhere in the world together, which is cool. And I wanted to do the businesses, and we did, and got it done, and it was a huge thing. And now is like the next season of my life is the season for kids.
How do you make sure your kids don't grow up spoiled?
I don't know, man. I'm worried. So worried.
Just winging it.
I didn't grow up rich, and so like I'm actually a little envious of my friends who grew up rich and are well adjusted, which is rare to have both, because they like know what to do instinctually. They grew up in a household that like raised nice rich kids. Most rich kids aren't nice, good people, and my kids are obviously going to grow up in a different situation than me, and I don't know. I got to figure that out. I'm scared of that. I don't know. I honestly don't know the answer yet. They're still too young to have to really figure it out.
Yeah.
They don't, when someone comes up to me on the street, for example, they don't know, they just think it's a friend, like, but we're getting there. And so and we're getting to the point where I got to deny them presents and be like, no, you can't have that, even though it's obviously affordable, and teach them that stuff. And so it makes me nervous for sure.
It seems
I don't know the answer.
From some of the guests that we've had on, the ones with the kids that are most well-adjusted seem to be the ones that get thrown into work early on and get to see what it's like to earn money, or just be a part of something where they're contributing to it. It seems like that is the differentiating factor.
Interesting. Yeah. No, I mean, that's going to be a bit, my kids are going to be working. In the summer we live in Massachusetts, and in the summer town, and they're going to be scooping ice cream when they're 14. Damn the child labor laws.
$5 an hour plus tip
if they're lucky.
Yeah.
But no, that scares me a lot.